Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, and I am joined by both of the boys. It is a full boat tonight at Cubs on Tap. We haven't done this in a hot minute, but gentlemen, before we talk anything baseball, because as we know, the Cubs got swept by the Dodgers. Actually, fun fact, as Pat Hughes helped me learn today while I was listening on the radio, this would have been, had the Cubs, not lost, but they did. So this is the first time in the 130 years of these two teams playing, these organizations, like we're talking Brooklyn Dodger days here and Chicago White Stocking days, that either one of these teams have clean swept the series over the course of a season. Dodgers win all 7 games this year with the win today. First time in 130 years that's happened. 130 years. Anyway, before we get into all that bullshit, boys.
Hashtag
Joey,
this team.
Hashtag this team. How are you boys today? How's everything going? First off,
this shit sucks. Why are we even doing these anymore? Like, honestly, like we sit on these and I think we are just suckers for pain at this point. I put into the
satisfaction out of it.
Yeah, I put this into the group chat when I was driving, listening to the game. That, hey, anybody want to do a show? And then after I sent that, I went, why? Because they proceeded to give up like 7,000 runs within the next. Also, that baseball game was ridiculously long. That's a problem. Took
Insanity.
Too long. Yeah, and
the first 3 innings took like 2 hours.
I kid you not. I drove back from Illinois and made it to my apartment in South Bend and caught the whole 4th inning. Like, I left right when they started pitching, and I got there right as the start of the 4th.
You want to know what happened to me, Juice?
What's that?
I literally fell asleep in the 3rd inning when they were up 8-3, right after David Bodie's home run. I fell asleep, and I woke up. Still the 3rd inning. It's 9-8, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to add to that, I was, let's see, where was I today? I was not even in Indianapolis yet when the game started, and I got home by the 7th inning.
Yeah.
And I sat through 80-94 traffic, ladies and gentlemen, in Northwest Indiana. That's how bad it was. It was a long baseball game. I'm actually
Ron, I probably high-fived you. I was going the other way, man. You were going back the
Go team, as we sit through all the crap.
Nothing really much to high-five about. I mean, for Christ's sake, this team. Like, I know we sit on these and I just want to ask you guys a question. If you had disposable income, which we all do, and you were a Cub fan, give me one good reason why you should buy a ticket to go to the game.
No, because
you can't.
Here's part of it, and I think you guys are going to be in agreement with this. First off, if anybody, in case you missed today's game, they lost 11-9. They lost every game by 2 or less runs. They were in every game. They probably should have won at least 2 of these, maybe even all 4 of them. Who the hell knows? And
that's the most frustrating fucking part, Ron.
Well, and that's exactly where I was going, Joey, because this team is if there were at least one thing, they're consistent, and they consistently disappoint me because this is just the storyline. Like every game, right? They do something good, and we're like, and then they do something bad, and then we're like, what the fuck? And then they do something kind of good again, and they get those fake rallies that we've seen in like every fucking game this season, and you're like, oh, maybe there's a chance, and then it doesn't happen, and then you're like, wow, I got up for the letdown. And like our friend here at On Tap Sports at Johnny 90 says, never get up for the letdown, boys. And I think we always get up for the letdown. But again, at least this team is consistent, because 19 bajillion times out of 10 they lose the ball games the exact same fucking way. They either shoot themselves in the foot, are just purely overmatched, or they just aren't a real baseball team. Like, they're just, if Frank Schwindel's a created player, this is a created team, is literally what it feels like right now.
Yeah, and to build on that, Ron, I feel like all these moments that we talk about, these rallies that get started, they're always botched by a Patrick Wisdom or a, create a player that at the end of the day, they're not going to be here. And that's why I'm going to start my rant because it's been boiling over ever since the 8th inning. Please, someone here bring sense to me. Why is David Ross pinch hitting Rafael Ortega for a future potential that we're just trying to see? What is the point? Why is Christopher Morel not taking that at bat? He's over and over and over showed that he's good in the clutch. He can hit in the clutch. Mm-hmm. I don't care about lefty righty. And hey, there we go. We got our tally for the Moneyball quote for the show. There we go. I don't care about lefty righty. But David Ross needs like a stern talking to. And I know they were trying to win today because they lost 3 in a row. But I don't care that Rafael Ortega hits fastballs. And I don't care that he's lefty. And I don't care. From here on out, it is all about growth. Mm-hmm. And how many times throughout the course of the season are you going to have a chance where Christopher Morel is up in a clutch moment with 2 on and you're trying to win a game to salvage a series? It is hard to simulate things like that. So why is Ortega taking that bat? And what is the worst outcome? Exactly what Ortega did. But it's the same for Morel. Morel's going to hit that same ball and beat that out as well. So what's the point? Like, if I'm Jed and I'm Carter, I'm calling David Ross in and going, yo, man, your job's safe, but your job isn't safe if you don't play these guys and see what we got for the rest of the stupidity. And I don't care that they lost. At the end of the day, this ball club is bad, and they're going to lose a lot of games. But don't be bad and stupid. That's my problem. Like, don't be bad and have the stupidity of pulling a young player in a moment where he could possibly come through in the clutch and build some confidence. So what are we doing? It's a total botch of what is important for the rest of the year. Is right? It makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
No, it really does. And I'm glad you brought this up, Juice, because this is actually something that's been kind of bothering me a little bit over the course of the season too, and not enough for it to ever like materialize. But and Joey, I want to hear your thoughts on this too, because I think you and I have touched on this on shows before, and I know Juice and I have as well. It's almost like Jed needs to it's like taking away the toys, right?
Yep.
Like they can't fucking play Jason Hayward if he's not on the roster, right? Like it almost feels like, at least for this season, and again, maybe it is Ross finding his, managerial style and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work as a manager. And I get that. And this is the season that you can kind of do it. But I agree, Juice. Like, why? I don't give a fuck about lefty righty either. Like, why isn't Christopher Morel, who has clearly shown that he's probably one of the best players on your team already as a rookie, is in a prime position to make a career-defining play that can help him improve? Yeah. And you are building for the future then. Like, I love Rafael Ortega. I was enough of an idiot to buy a Rafael Ortega jersey. But guess what? I also don't want to see Rafael Ortega in that fucking situation. I want to see Christopher Morel, or if it was a Seiya Suzuki, or if it was a Nico Horner. I want to see those guys in that situation. You know who I don't want to see in that situation? If it's Rafael Ortega, Jason Hayward, then make the move. Then I'm good with it. Then play lefty righty. I don't give a fuck. Even if it's David Bodie, even if it's, even if it's Patrick Wisdom. If you really want to get lefty righty, that's the situation. Do it. Not when you're young, potential star. Like, we don't know what Christopher Morel is going to be. We could look back at this in 4 or 5 years and be like, son of a bitch, one of the first guys up that most casual Cubs fans weren't super on their radar is all of a sudden a face of the franchise, right? Yeah. But we're not going to know that when he's getting sat down. I get it. He had a rough day. He struck out 3 times in his 4 at-bats. That's fine. But guess what?
Don't care.
Yeah. That's part of the learning process.
He could strike out 8 times. He should still take that 9th at bat. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Rafael Ortega is 31 years old. He's 31 years old.
That's been my biggest issue with a lot of the decisions this season when it comes to I'm gonna go on out and say I'm not super upset with David Ross as far as like for the whole season, but like you look at some of these decisions and you're like, yeah, Ron, you said it. They had to take away Jason Hayward in order for him not to fucking play him, and he even said it was a loyalty thing and it's a leadership thing, and it's like, dude, we don't care. We do not care. We don't want to see these guys, and it's so much not about Ortega as it is about Morel, as you guys are saying.
Yes.
Like we want to see the growth from these players. We don't care if they struggle because that's a part of it. Get the struggling out of the way now. Because if he is the real deal, if he's a real player, as he's proven so far to this point, whether that's sustainable in the long run or not, we still have no idea. But it's about him going through the struggles, and you have to see that. So it's like, I'm on your side on this one, Juice, and I didn't know where you were going with this earlier when you said, I'm going to bash David Ross because, another thing I was thinking, maybe you're going to go the Rowan Wick route, which, good freaking Lord, dumpster juice right now.
Bad.
But, it's just, he just turned into a shitstorm. But I don't know. I'm going to crack one to drown my sorrows right now because I'm super thirsty as I'm talking. But
I support it.
So now that that's out of the way, hashtag crack 'em.
Hashtag crack 'em.
I do think that Ortega, like if that is a managerial style, like Ron, you were saying, that is the right move in that type of situation late in the game. If this is a contending team and this is a team that you were just trying to beat and you're in the runnings for a division or a wild card or whatever, this team's not there. They just lost 3 straight games to the Dodgers, and you're going for what, to avoid the sweep? Like, okay, cool, you're avoiding a sweep, but what does that really mean in the long run for this season? This team is, and I've been saying this too, and I've been tweeting it out and whatever, and I've been telling friends I talk to in person, this team is the definition of a young team with talent, but too young to win. Like a team with talent, a team that's ready to win, they finish the game. They know how to finish games. And maybe Ortega, you can say in that type of situation, he's one of the guys being kind of a veteran, even though he doesn't have too many major league at-bats, but being kind of a veteran, he can finish the job there. But to your point, what is the point? Like, are you just trying to boost his value up to trade him? And that's the kind of what gives me hope, I guess, in this whole situation is hopefully, Ortega's probably going to get traded here soon. So it's like, I hate to be the guy that, and it's not like I want Ortega gone, but like long run wise, he's not a part of the future and he's going to get you something. So maybe he was thinking, well, this is a perfect situation to get him a nice juicy fastball, to get him, the righty lefty, but it's
sorry,
not,
Joey, that's not enough. At the end of the day,
it's not enough for a reason. It's not.
At the end of the day, the team who trades for Rafael Ortega is going to go, hey, remember that one at bat against the Dodgers that they avoided the sweep and he hit a home run? No, they're not. They're absolutely not. He's Rafael Ortega. He's average. And just to add to your point, at the end of the day, this team is a bunch of young guys and then a bunch of old 4A geezers who at the end of the day are nothing in baseball and worth nothing to this team. I'm sorry, and I know that Patrick Wisdom is putting out a great season in terms of power numbers. He is. But at the end of the day, who cares? We're going to look back and go, cool, yeah, he hit 30 home runs that one year. The Cubs still lost 100 games. Who cares? It's just so baffling to me. How do you, over and over and over again, like the whole idea this whole season is to build a base. But you're not letting your 22-year-old phenoms, utility guy taking a bat in the 8th? What do you do? And then just to call out the other people, I even thought, I was like, all right, I want to hear what David Ross has to say. I want to hear him in the presser. None of these spineless jagoffs over there had any courage to ask that question. And that should be the number one point of this whole game. I don't care that they blew an 8-run lead or whatever. Nobody cares about that. At the end of the day, the typical Cub fan is looking for some growth. They're looking for something to hold on to. And what did David Ross at that moment do? He tore it away and sent him to the bench to sit. And I don't care that he struck out 3 times in 4 at-bats. He should take that at-bat every time. He can strike out for the next 100 at-bats. He should take at-bat 101. I don't care. He's 22 years old. He's not there to sit the bench and watch Rafael Ortega take it at-bat.
He's not. And this is the thing, too, Juice. Like, I don't want to sit here and call out too many members of the media. I'm not going to say names, whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, I've seen that a lot this season. They are unwilling to ask some of the difficult questions when it comes down to it. The underlying stuff that we talk about on these shows, that we talk in our group chats about, that we talk with our friends about, they don't ask those fucking hard-hitting questions at times. And that's just I'm generalizing it as a whole, the Cubs media team. Like it's, and I'm not sitting here saying like you always have to do that. Like some situations call for it and others, but to me, this is what it feels like. They are not asking those questions because they're more worried about being first on the story. Who's going to give me the inside scoop? Who do I build the most relationships with? To me, that's bullshit. It's bullshit because it's doing an injustice, doing a disservice to us, the fans. And yes, we kind of consider ourselves a part of the media, right? We write articles, we do these shows, we stay closely tied to this team. We track just about everything. We try to anyways, or somebody will send us an update if we didn't see it maybe 2 hours earlier. But at the end of the day, we are not in contact with David Ross right now, or in contact with like some of these other media members are. And so I'm just as upset as other fans should be that some of these questions aren't being asked. And I know we weren't probably going to go down that road tonight, but it just brings up to it's kind of like multi-layered, right? Like you want these young guys to perform, but you want them to get the experience. That's the biggest part of this whole season. That's what this season should be about, as we've said multiple times on this show. And that's where the anger comes from for me. Like they're playing good baseball at a lot of points in different ball games, and then they lose it. Like Ron said, they blow a lead or they don't come through in the clutch, the 9th, the 10th inning, extra innings, they lose by 1 run, lose by 2 runs. You're playing a good Dodgers team. I understand that. You're not supposed to win these games right now, but it's not the result. It's the decision behind the result that gets you fucking fuming.
Absolutely. And like that's kind of, you guys put it perfectly, right? Because you know how you build clutch, like you just said, Joey, if they don't come through in the clutch, you let them take those at-bats. Because honestly, right now, if we're being brutally honest, the youth on this team are probably some of the most talented players on the roster, right? The Seiya Suzuki's, the Nico Horners, the Christopher Morels are the most talented players on the roster for a reason. But speaking of questions that could be asked, right? Like I've got 2 right off the top of my head. So, okay, you're going to bench Christopher Morel because he was 0 for going into that at-bat. You know who was 0 for going to their home run at-bat? Nelson Velasquez, but you left him in. So what's the difference? Yep. That's another
fucking
guy,
bomb.
righty-lefty. Yeah, and he smashed it. But guess what? That's because he comes in and he reassets, and every at-bat is a growth experience. I want Christopher Morel taking that. You know what other question I have? Do we need to pull our best Brad Pitt, Mr. David Ross, and just trade all these guys so you physically can't play them?
Yeah, I think that's the
like. I don't care. I don't care if Patrick Wisdom's going to be an all-star. I'll trade him away like Carlos Pena got traded away to make sure Scotty Hatteberg got to play. And if that's the fucking case where I love him, I got his jersey, but if I got to send Rafael Ortega to a contender and wish him the best and I hope he gets a ring, I'm doing that. So Christopher Morel's the one taking that at bat, not Rafael Ortega.
Yeah. It just don't be dumb and stupid. That's
don't
just
be dumb and stupid.
They're bad and stupid. Don't be bad
and stupid. And
yeah, that's it. And I don't know. I just want somebody to ask him why. I want the reasoning. And give me and if the reasoning is exactly what we thought it was, exactly what Suddy said on the broadcast, that a fastball hitting lefty, then David Ross needs to be brought into an office and told what the rest of the season's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you need to apologize first off, Juice. Don't worry, Joey. I'm going to let you share your piece.
No.
Because I don't think you need to apologize. Because I'll tell you what, Juice, your rant there actually kind of sums this series up incredibly well, right?
Yeah.
Like this team continually shoots themselves in the foot. And again, if the future is in mind, that's okay. That's where you build how to learn and win and do shit. But when, again, like, Joey, to your point, you know what? I almost feel like as Cubs fans, we have to hope there's a sell-off at the deadline. that's as heavy as last year's was, or at least heavy enough, because then finally maybe these guys aren't going to get questioned. These youthful players like Nelson Velasquez and Christopher Morel aren't going to be questioned in situations that are tough, because guess what? That's going to just make them better players instead of, oh, well, we're going to manage for this. And I get it. I listened to the interview that Ross did on 670 The Score. I think it was earlier last week, about like he's going to manage the ball club to win. And I respect that. But guess what? Arguably, some of these guys probably give you a better chance to win than Ortega in that situation. And I know Ortega's been playing a lot better of recent, all that shit. And we'll call the facts the facts. But like Christopher Morel is still probably one of your best players on the team right now. He made everybody forget that Seiya Suzuki was a Cub for a little bit. Like, he's been that good. Let him thrive in that situation. Because what if he does thrive in those 2 runs?
It's a different game.
He's done it before. He's got a walk-off this season.
He's the type of player that you don't know when he's going to strike.
Exactly.
Like he could be struggling for 8 at-bats.
Yeah, how many games does he have where he goes 1 for 5, but he hits a 2-run bomb and it helps them win the game? He's done that a lot this season. That's why his average is only in the 260s. His on-base is still over 800. He's getting shit done elsewhere.
I also don't care if he fails, because repetition is the best way to build confidence, and it's the best way to build good habits. And I don't want to be in the middle of a playoff game and Christopher Morel comes up and he hasn't had enough experience or repetition to come in and get a big hit. I don't want that, because I want all the failures and all the learning experiences to happen now, when your team is 13 and a half games back in the division. It's just fair facts, guys. And that's at the end of the day, it makes my blood boil, because you could be bad, but don't be stupid.
Yeah. I mean, like, same thing goes, like you brought up Velasquez too. And that was a great point on your part, because he was 0 for this series leading up to that. 0 for the series. I sat here and I did a show, an audio only show after the opening game. And Velasquez watched one go down the middle for strike 3. It was a fastball down the middle when they had the winning run at the plate. He was the winning run. The tying run was at first base. Velasquez had a chance to make something happen in that big situation. But I didn't care. I was happy that he got the opportunity in that situation to at least try. Like, having some failures is going to build – maybe it doesn't build his confidence in that situation like it did with Seiya potentially when he had that little blooper down the right field line, scored Hap, and got things moving in that inning in that first game of the series. But it builds the experience. So then now next time, hey, he knows how to kind of handle that, knows what he did and didn't do, maybe what he can do differently in the next time he gets presented with that type of situation. And look at tonight. They were still kind of in that game, or today, excuse me, it wasn't night yet, but it felt like it was fucking midnight by how long the game went. Good Lord. But anyways, like he came up and hit that bomb. Like, you're going to have the ups and downs with these players, and you just need to kind of ride it out. It doesn't matter right at this point. Like, if they spend money in this offseason, which there's a chance they do. Like, I think they're going to. Like, there's a lot of rumors out there too. We're hearing the Xander Bogaerts stuff, and by the way, he'll be playing second base. Nico Horner's our shortstop. That's what I'm going to say. But you're hearing that they will spend money, and they should. Next year's about winning more. Like, look at next season about winning more. If Velasquez isn't cutting it, if Morel isn't cutting it, okay, maybe they need to go back down to AAA. Maybe they need some days off. Like, right now, let it ride. If they're not tired, if they're not hobbled, if they're healthy, just let them go.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, again, I think that really helps sum up this series too, right? Because sure, you lost some games, but I would honestly take, if I'm going to find one little silver lining from this series, it's that they were in every game.
Yeah.
So you want that adversity for some of these young guys to learn, right? Hey, what did we do wrong to not win today? Sometimes that helps. It's like every successful team talks about failing in order to learn. It's the exact same way in sports. You got to fail to learn. That's how you learn, is by failure. That's why in baseball you can be one of the best players in the game if you hit 3 out of 10, because it's a game completely surrounded by failure, right? you want these guys to fail because this is how they're going to learn how to win. And if David Ross wants his team to win, like he says he's managing towards, and I like that, then like let these kids that are probably going to be part of that future for you to win, or at least try to win, right? It's not going to be perfect every time, but son of a bitch, like we said today, I'd rather have Morel up there than Ortega. So I completely agree with each of you guys. Quick two things, and then I do want to turn it back over to each of you for any final thoughts, maybe from this series, or any good little kind of adventures that we want to take here for the rest of the episode. But Ian Happ officially named All-Star. Congratulations to him. Incredibly well-deserved. I'll continue to say it. I think he should be a part of the future. He shapes up to fit Juice's tinfoil hat take of Jed knowing where baseball's going here because of Theo. And Willie also named officially the All-Star starter over the weekend as well for the catching position. Also, Tim Anderson on the other side of town was named it, a guy that profiles exactly like Nico Horner. So I think Nico Horner should be an All-Star if he's going to be an All-Star, but it's just neither here nor there. But boys, I'll open it up to you both. Obviously, the news and your thoughts on that, and then any final thoughts or rabbit holes from this series that you guys want to explore.
Nico got snubbed.
Snubbed.
Did. And that's why, and dude, like, that's why I'm saying Xander should be playing second if they sign him, because he's so much better defensively as a shortstop than Xander Bogaerts is.
Absolutely.
And he's better defensively than Tim Anderson is. I know Southsiders don't want to hear that. It's a fucking fact. Not even close. So, you know, yeah, and he hits the ball. Like, he consistently hits the ball this season. And this is kind of the guy that we thought, he doesn't strike out much. Like, he's adding a little bit of power. He's still got that speed element to him. He runs out everything. Every time he hits a ground ball, you see him sprinting down the line. It looks like a much closer play than it should be every single time. So he's got the hustle and building the muscle. Like, Nico, yeah, little rhyme pattern, little scheme right there for you, Ron. But and also, I just wanted to add too. Obviously, big of Ian Happ to make the All-Star game. That's huge. He's had a huge second half. He's tied, I believe when I looked, he was tied with Cedric Mullins for the most doubles out of any outfielder in the game. So he might not be hitting a ton of home runs, but there's a reason why that OPS is so high, because the guy hits a ton of doubles and he just gets on base. He walks a ton. So cut the strikeout rate. Obviously, we've talked about that in the past. But Keegan Thompson, dude, like Keegan Thompson again, shoved against a good offense. Stroman came back. He pitched really well, even though he had like less than 60 pitches. Keegan Thompson, man, I tweeted this out too. Shane McClanahan and Corbin Burns are obviously top of the line pitchers in this league. He has the third best K- walk rate in the game over his last five starts, and that might have changed since I looked at it the other day. But if that was a full season, we're talking K- walk rate and a strikeout rate of 30+%. You're talking about like a top of the line type of pitcher there with the strikeout stuff, right? Like, that's what we look for. We've been looking for guys that can strike batters out. Keegan Thompson's starting to strike guys out, and it's a big part of the reason why he's throwing a ton of fastballs now. He's throwing that slider a lot, which sometimes they're classifying it as a cutter, but the slider, cutter, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's working with that fastball, playing off of it very well. There are some positives. Like, we can rant, and Wilson Contreras, it's really cool that he's going to be in the All-Star game with his brother too. Yeah. Third time starting with tied Gabby Hartnett for the most All-Star game starts in Cubs franchise history for catchers. So that's really cool. But yeah, man, I did have a little bit of a hot take on Contreras too, but I'll save it. I'll save it for now.
Ooh, so it's a spicy one. I like that. Juice, do you have any final thoughts and things you would like to lay out, my friend?
This team sucks.
Juice needs a beer.
Need a freaking nap. Me and Patrick Wisdom probably take naps at the same time.
That might be. Hey, that's okay. Naps are elite. Speaking
Mid
of
game,
Yeah,
hopefully you need
probably
to
be better off. Sorry.
It does feel that way.
in my case, I was not better off today, but
Juice is on his negative juice. He's on his
No,
spoiled juice today. Like,
you know when you
spoiled
go
juice.
and you watch, because I went last week to go watch Jordan Wicks and
True.
Endeavors, and like that team is so much more interesting than what we talk about.
Yeah.
So much more.
That's totally fair.
Like if we started SB Cubs on tap, like legit, like it would be like a top 50 podcast in the world. That's how interesting that team is. I overheard like competitions because I was sitting near the scouts, and this is like a cool little like into like around like the club kind of thing. They're doing a competition between PCA and the second baseman. I'm blanking on his name, but it's a who could add weight on quicker, and the coaches have pulled together like $200 for the month. It's just some extra cash. So they're going back and forth to figure out like who could put more weight on. And as of the other day, the second baseman, forget his name, was up 1 pound.
Nice.
Up 1 pound. That is elite. You know, and speaking of elite, Joey, going back to your point, and Juice, I want to address your point here as well. I'm actually pulling up the South Bend Cubs for us here, so we get a roster in front of us. But no, you talk about a guy like Keegan Thompson. Can we throw the E word around soon here if he continues to do this? You know, he's got the stuff. Again, if you're comparing him to the names like Burns and McClanahan, I mean that's high praise. That's about as good as it gets. So yeah,
and those are facts. Like those are facts. That's not me saying that he's like in that tier yet. It's just those are the numbers, right? And presenting them like that's exactly what's happened.
No, absolutely, and that's the crazy thing, right? It's not like we're sitting here making shit up, right? That's what he's doing, and I think a lot of people should take notice. And speaking of take notice, Juice, I agree. I think that I know we've had some of our listeners here say, oh well, we don't watch the minors. We don't expect to be watching the minor leagues. Yeah, well, guess what? While his team is struggling and it's been painful, like, go ahead and watch the minor leaguers a little bit, right? Like that's okay. That's okay. They're fun. There's a lot going on, right? PCA is going to the Futures game, which, reminder to everybody, that's the game that Brennan Davis won MVP in last year. So, you're going to send a second straight year. You're sending a different prospect to the Futures game. That's huge. Shows a lot of depth. And they're fun, right? PCA's hitting triples left and right. The kid's got more triples and significantly get less games with South Bend than he was with Myrtle Beach. Like, yeah, maybe the average isn't there like it was in Myrtle Beach for PCA right now, but the extra base hits sure as hell are. In 17 games, he's got like 9 extra base hits. Like the guy's getting it done still, even though his average is, I think, hovering around like 250 right now. And, some of that's transition from low A to high A. But guys, I'm in agreement with both of you. My kind of final thoughts going back, we talk all-star talk. We talk, guys for the future. I would like to present you 2 stat lines really quick. And I would like you both to just give me your quick thoughts here. Player A is slashing 318, 358, 785 with 5 home runs, 21 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases, and 76 total hits. Okay. Player B is slashing 306, 341, 770 with 5 home runs, but 26 RBI and 7 stolen bags and 77 hits. If runs scored matters, player B has 27, player A has 36. What do you think of those 2 stat lines?
I know exactly who they are.
Who are they, Joey?
Tim Anderson, Nico Horner.
Yes, and in that order. Very similar. And mind you, Tim Anderson is starting in the All-Star game for the American League. If that's any indication of the step forward that a guy like Nico Horner has taken this year, I mean, he was 3 for 5 today. He's been great. Nico Horner looks like a player that this team, and I agree, Joey. I've never agreed with something more that I didn't think about, but I was just like, oh, son of a bitch, yeah. Is your Xander Bogaerts comment. If he's coming here, he's playing second base. Nico Horner is a significantly better shortstop. And I don't care that he's small, or he's not the prototype, or he's not Carlos Correa. No, but he's a really good fucking shortstop. And guess what? When right now you got a front office that might be penny pinching because they want to address certain needs, there's nothing better than a player on a rookie contract who's still pretty young to play your shortstop position, because then you can build up other positions that you're maybe not as deep in your farm or something of that nature, and good things can happen. So that's kind of my little final thought.
Ron, I love it, and I'm gonna say I got questions for both of you. Do you think that could potentially affect his decision come free agency to where he goes if the Cubs were to approach him and be like, hey, look, we like you, we want you, but we feel like Nico Hoerner is very good defensively at shortstop, and we want him to play shortstop. Would you consider playing second base? Because Trevor Story went to Boston, and then Trevor Story was playing second base, but I feel like that was also kind of like a future move of, hey, also Jeter Downs can be coming up soon with Boston, or we can move you back to shortstop after Xander potentially leaves. Like, how does that play in, do you guys think, with like the negotiations for someone like Xander Bogaerts? Like, does that affect it?
Go ahead, Juice.
I think money, if they ask him to be the hot dog vendor in between innings, but there's enough money there, like money cures a lot of this, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if the Cubs are the highest bidder, they probably get him, and regardless of what position he has to play, I think, I think that at the end of the day, if he's able to, come over, it'll be at second base. I think that too. I agree with your point there. I just think that, I don't know, I'm a sucker for Turner, and I love that speed, and I love all the things that he does, and I would rather have him. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Not that I don't like Bogaerts, but I
feel like he's going to cost. Do you think he's going to cost a little bit more? I have no idea.
Trey? Yeah. Would absolutely cost more than Bogaerts.
But that's that rejuvenates your fan base when you make a move like that. Like, if you go and pay a Trey Turner, like, that buys back so much lost faith. And that's why
I feel like either one is going to be a big, one.
But Turner, like, at the top of that order with all of the, extra, skills that he has, I think plays better, because this fan base has been like, so we don't have a leadoff hitter. We don't have somebody who sets the table. And Trey Turner does that. He's very good at getting on and causing havoc. And those 2, 3, 4, when he's on base, when he's there, like, that almost dictates what they throw. And I think that's more of a needle mover. Not to say that Bogaerts is slow. Turner's speed is just unreal. Yeah. And I think he's more of a needle mover, and that's why, like, he's worth that extra dough to pay. And it buys you, it's just win-win. You spend it, you get to check that off of the list, and you get a leadoff guy who has some of the best speed in the MLB. And we were talking about it, the bigger bases, where baseball is going. I truly think that they're valuing contact and speed with this new way that they're going to build this. So they'll view his speed as more valuable and worth paying more.
Yeah, just quickly in answering your original question, Joey. Yeah, I think, like what you said, if the money's there, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going to pay me to slide over, but I'm getting paid 25, 30 million a year. Yeah, that's fine. To that point, though, I agree with Juice. I think if we are kind of saying what we've talked about extensively here at Cubs on Tap is, they are building this new look for baseball type team where, like Juice said, speed and contact actually are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than guys who can hit the long ball, right? I think you're seeing it a little bit on the South side right now. Their offense is starting to struggle with this new ball because not everything's a home run, even though that park is built for, home runs. I think Turner very much, out of the 3 quote unquote big shortstops coming this fall, I think he's the one that is the most valuable, in my opinion, because of his way that he plays baseball and the speed and the good defense. And, the contact bat and would look great at the top of the order, especially with guys like Seiya Suzuki and Christopher Morel behind him in that order, right? Or Morel, hitting 9, kind of bringing it back to Trey Turner. You give Trey Turner a chance to drive in runs, he's probably going to do it. Oh, and also, how awesome would that little slick slide be on GIF form?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Just a little whip. It's so smooth. It's so just
the pop
just
up too.
Sliding up real quick, no problem. But I really do like, if you gave me Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, which one of these 3 shortstops favors where baseball's going? To me, Turner's the most important of those 3. I think he's the best suited for what the new baseball is going to look like. Sure, maybe Correa can be that guy because he's hit for average. Not that to say that he can't, but also a guy who hasn't stayed healthy his whole career. I know I'm surprised nobody tried to rip me apart for that this offseason about saying I didn't think Correa could last for what he was asking for. But I think Trey Turner's the guy.
The other part of that, and I agree with both of you. Like, I love Trey Turner. I think he's the best out of all 3 of those options as well. And like, I love that you guys tied it back to Juice's original like tinfoil hat theory type of thing of like the Theo and Jed having this idea because Theo told him, this is where baseball's heading and stuff. And that could play into it and play into Jed's decision as well, which one to ultimately go after. But the other part of that is Trey is 29. So I'm wondering, like, when does this – I feel like the contact and the skill set will be there.
Bogaerts is also 29.
Bogaerts is also 29. But when does the speed start to decline? And when does that matter? Does that play into, like, contract length? Also with Trey Turner, that's kind of my other, like, thought behind it is, like, do you consider that at all? Because, like, you're paying him more so for, like, what he can do with his bat and not necessarily just the speed. But, like, when his agent goes to talk to the Cubs, he's going to mention, like, hey, look what this guy does in the base pass. Look how fast he is. And if it's a long-term contract, we might have to kind of realize, like, hey, once he hits 34 or, like, whatever age it is, hey, he's not stealing anymore. Like, like, I don't know how that kind of goes into it. And, like, does that matter, I guess?
Kenny Lofton still had his wheels as he got later into his career.
I was going to mention Juan Pierre.
That's true.
Juan Pierre kept his career extended because of his base run. And I this is what I will say about that, Joey. I agree. There would
it's not like it's too old at 34 or anything, but I mean,
there would be a noticeable tick, sure, at some point. But I think because Turner's not just fast, he's also a very just good base runner, right? Base running and speed are 2 different things. If as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, I'm glad you can run. It's like football, right? I'm glad you can run a 40-yard dash 4.2, but you have football speed. Like, what do you look like on the field? It's the same idea with base runners versus speed. I think Trey Turner's an elite enough base runner that even as he gets older, he's still going to have that value on the base pass. Yes, to your point, maybe he's not scoring or not stealing as much, but what he's making up for it, hopefully, with the contact that that really shouldn't go away as long as his hands are still there, and his ability to still, if he's on second, he's probably still going to score on every single. You know what I mean? Like, that value, I think, is still there, right? I think something that we talked about as Cubs fans extensively with Chris Bryant, right, was an elite base runner, not the fastest dude in the world, but one of the best base runners, arguably in the big leagues, especially for being 6'5". He's huge, you know what I mean? And his big giraffeness is just rounding third with ease.
Jason Hayward too, as much as we hate on him.
Hayward's a pretty solid base runner overall. So, like, I think that's where the value would still be there.
He better be a good base runner. He's not on there often.
When he gets on, he better know what to do.
Oh no, I feel that. That's
I know I'm sour juice today, real sour.
I love sour juice every once in a while. It wakes you up a little bit, smacks you in the mouth a little bit. We get to see some raw emotion from you, Juice. And I think
that's grapefruit juice, man. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. That's
as long as you're not grapefruit juice, we're good.
Jason Hayward, the grapefruit juice of the MLB.
Oh, wow. Well, I feel like on that note, that is a perfect opportunity to steer this conversation away from the sour juice and into something that isn't so sour. Cubs have an off day tomorrow. We get
Thank God.
off here while it Cubs on tap. Yeah, Yeah, everybody gets to reset a little
We
bit.
need it.
Breathe a little bit. But the boys are back in action on Tuesday. So if you guys are ready, I was going to say let's look ahead to this Baltimore Orioles game because it is a 2-game set at Wrigley Field. Teams have only played once so far this year. The other one was rained out, has been rescheduled back in Baltimore. But the Cubs got beat up a little bit. Actually, probably one of Keegan Thompson's worst starts was against this Baltimore Orioles team that we're going to see on Tuesday, but he is not on the mound. It will be Adrian Sampson for the Cubs as the Orioles and Cubs duel at 7:05 Central Daylight Time. Juice, that's 8:05 for you, my friend, at beautiful Wrigley Field on Tuesday, July 12th. If you are in the Baltimore market, 98 Rock FM, WBAL News Radio, AM FM, is where you can find the Orioles game. That's an interesting channel to have it on. And then Massachusetts Sports Center, I believe, or Maryland Area Sports Center, pardon me, MASN, is where you can watch that game. You know the drill in Chicago, 670 The Score, WRTO 1200, and Marquee Sports Network for your listening and viewing pleasure. It will be Jordan Lyles going against Sampson in Tuesday's game. Lyles 5-7 on the year, 4.50 ERA. For Sampson, still is yet to have a decision. He is 0-0, but a 2.91 ERA as he has been very good. So, gentlemen, I will turn it back to each of you. And for the first time in a long time, we'll actually get to do some Fly the W picks live and on air and not in the Slack message, which will be fun. But first, previews from each of you, my friends.
Yeah, first to start, a little half-baked reference. Sampson, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wear it tomorrow, man. Like, tomorrow, 2 days from now. The bullpen, even 2 days from now, is going to be just still depleted. So it'd be nice to see a pitcher go deeper than 4 innings. I swear, like every time I feel like I watch a game, they get bad starting pitching, and I feel bad for the bullpen, man. Their arms got to be freaking falling off at this point. I mean, it took Smiley today, 27 pitches to get the first out. So, and he was only slated to throw like 50-some for the day. So, yeah. So that's exactly bad, horrible. And then they had to piggyback with the starter. It's whatever. Leiter Jr.
Mark Leiter.
Mark, whatever. Same bad. They're all bad. With Leiter Jr., and that was supposed to be like his bullpen day. So, yeah, bad. Just
Swarmer, too.
Can we just get like a deep pitching performance for once? I swear, I'm not even asking for once or for much. I'm not even asking for them to win the game. Like, just go deep into a ball game for Christ's sake. That way I don't got to worry about position player going in there in the 8th and the 9th, or I don't know. I'm just tired of this team, and I'm tired.
No, I hear you there, Juiced. Joey, any quick thoughts about this one coming up?
Yeah, I mean, Sampson's been pretty good so far this year. Like with the big league level, he's been doing pretty well. And I know Carter Hawkins, when he was on with 670 to score in his interview, he mentioned Sampson as a guy that's kind of turned on some, made some adjustments and kind of turned the corner a little bit here. And that's impressive to me that he's been able to do that. And the coaching staff has kind of worked with them possibly to turn that corner. And hey, I'm with Juice. I want to give us 6 innings, please. 6 innings, a quality start. Even if it's not a quality start, just give us a quality start, or give us the 6 innings, I should say. But because that'd be great. The bullpen's shot. I mean, maybe the day off will help a little bit, but what's it really going to help? I mean, Jordan Lyles too. His mediocre ERA. He's been really good at home. 2.72 ERA at home. On the road, 5.89. And he's on the road, so you should be able to tag Jordan Lyles if he showed us anything this season at Wrigley. Take advantage of that. Get the bats going early. Get his ass out of the game by the 3rd, 4th inning. And then just give him like a sweet little, then Sampson can give up 4 or 5 runs and still pick up a win. I want to see a big explosion offensively as well. So, yeah, I'm with Juice though. I'm getting so sick of this team, but it's so hard for me not to be every day I go into it and I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're going to win today. And I was pleasantly surprised by Drew Smiley. I mean, not Drew Smiley, but I didn't think they'd win this game, and then pleasantly surprised. They're up 8-3, and I fall asleep. I'm like, that's one of those games where Juice said when Kyle Hendricks was on the mound recently, because he had a good stretch of outings, like 2 or 3 that pretty good outings before he got hurt, where it's like it's a lullaby. He's like rocking you to sleep. Like, okay, you can kind of snooze off now. Like he's in a groove. And that's kind of how I felt today. I was super exhausted, getting home from our game and driving around all day. And I'm like, okay, I can just fall asleep. David Bodie, thank you for the home run. Wake up. Everything turns to shit. The third inning somehow still going. And we're back in the same position that we were the 3 days before. So just get a fucking win. Please, just get a win. Just get a win.
Just get a win. Well, good news, Juice and Joey. Adrian Sampson has actually built up in each of his appearances since June 19th, which was his second appearance of the season. That's when we saw him against Atlanta. He went 4 2/3, but since then, 5 innings, 5 1/3, 5 2/3. So it feels like the next logical step forward is a 6-inning minimum performance from Adrian Sampson. So maybe, just maybe. Also, yeah, Lyles likes to get tattooed. It's going to be a beautiful night at Wrigley on Tuesday. It's probably going to be like high 70s with a nice wind blowing out to the beautiful Lake Michigan, right? Like
that's why you buy the tickets. That's back to Juice's point. Why do you buy tickets? It's a beautiful night at Wrigley.
That's true. Yeah. It's hard to beat a beautiful night at Wrigley, but you know what else makes it beautiful is the long ball. And maybe you could get a couple, get them up in that jet stream. The wind's going to be blowing out. It's going to be absolutely perfect here in Chicago. It's bound to be blowing out. Go like Morel, send a couple into the jet stream. Velasquez doesn't need wind to hit a ball out of the ballpark. Give him some extra wind. I want to see if he puts one on the freaking rooftop. Like that's what I want on Tuesday. Chicks dig the long ball, and sometimes the long ball is hot and sexy, even if baseball is going away from it. I'm enjoying the new look of baseball, but home runs are still fun. So, tattoo Lyles, I agree with you guys. Pitch, just get through it. Hopefully they can, maybe somebody gets called up to piggyback off Sampson so they don't burn the pen. I don't know, whatever. But nonetheless, a win would also be cool. That's where we're at here this season, ladies and gentlemen. We are just hoping for random wins in the middle of July on a Tuesday night against the Baltimore Orioles. Gentlemen, before we sign off here, quickly, Fly W picks. Joey, please, yours first.
Mine first. Okay, so I don't know. I think I'm going to go with a lefty, even though I really don't want to, because I'm gonna go ahead and steal the guy that just got his All-Star appearance. Ian Happ. Get it out of the way early. I love what he's doing this season. He's been Mr. Consistent. Don't need to talk about too much. Ian Happ's my pick.
I love that. Juice, who is your pick, my friend?
I'm going to go with Rafael Ortega because it's clear that the next great Cubs team is going to be built on the back of putting Rafael Ortega in moments of success that build for our future.
I fucking hate you, Juice.
Sour juice is a whole mood. So Rafael Ortega will be my pick because he's gonna be given every chance to succeed. I'm gonna go full Lovey right now. We like Rafael Ortega. Rafael Ortega is our quarterback. He's our future. Yeah.
Little previewing of Bears on Tap for tomorrow with me, Ron, and Beaton and Quentin.
Yeah, right. Oh my
God help you. You got to talk about this, then you got to go talk about that. Man, I'm surprised that you guys haven't just jumped off a bridge at this point.
You know what?
The state of Chicago sports.
I was going to say I get to talk about the Blackhawks sell-off. That's going to be all kinds of fun and dandy as well.
That's why we love you, Ron. You're a sick human being. The fact that you can just keep your life going on after having to talk about those three teams. Yeah, that's a feat. That's a feat that not many can accomplish. But dude, you're a specimen.
It's like standing in the middle of a room and just you rotate your body in 3 different directions in a circle and you get kicked in the balls by each separate team. That's what it's been being a Hawks, Cubs, and Bears fan lately.
Yeah.
We got the least expensive offense in the NFL, kicked to the nuts. Oh, Blackhawks just traded DeBrincat and Doc on draft day, kicking the nuts. This Cubs team just blew 4 games in LA where they easily could have won at least 2, kicking the nuts. It's something else.
You know what's going to be even worse? It's going to get cold again real soon in Chicago.
I know. But then I can look forward to NFL Sundays where even though I know they're going to make me mad, I'm still going to get up and excited on Sunday morning to watch the Bears.
Gambling's fun.
Let's call it what it is. Yeah, let's call it what it is. But guys, I'm gonna keep it real simple. 7 career at bats against Jordan Lyles. He has a .571 average with 2 homers and 5 ribbies. Give me the all-star starting catcher Wilson Contreras as my fly of the W pick. Just for this series, I think Willie's gonna keep balling out, and he's feeling pretty good about himself right now, making his 3rd all-star game as a starting catcher. So I'm gonna ride the wave and we'll take Wilson Contreras. But gentlemen, before we get out of here, do you want to remind everybody, Cubs on Tap, the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Check out all of our great work at ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can follow the pod-specific accounts here at Cubs on Tap. We are at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES. That's the Bluebird app, and on Instagram, I am at Loose on Tap on said Bluebird app. Juice is at Juice on Tap. Joey is at Joey's Knows Nothing. Make sure you follow our other great contributors as well at TeddyFreddy270 and at Brandon M. Kane, and all who help with Cubs on Tap here at On Tap Sportsnet. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. You heard the drill. You heard us just talking about it there a little bit ago. We've got it all here, and yes, Cubs fans, we all have friends that like the Southsiders. Go tell them to remind themselves that they were supposed to be AL contenders when they give you shit about this Cubs team this year. But our friends at Sox on Tap do a good job, but we like to yell at them and give them shit because they do the same to us here at Cubs on Tap. Once again, ontapsportsnet.com, at ontapsportsnet on social media. The On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, a nice, juicy, long episode, a little bit of a not so fun Sunday, but nonetheless, we get an off day tomorrow. Cubs get an off day tomorrow, and we're back in action on Tuesday. And we will be with you guys after that game against the Orioles. My friends, what do you say? We get out of here the only way now, because it's always a pleasure to be with you boys at Cubs on Tap.
Rafael Cortega.
And let's go Cubbies.